the fabric that I was so passionate about then. And it helped me a lot in learning. So these were the challenges that were really necessary to overcome. So should we go one by one, or right here the students would like to come in and have any questions so that we then proceed to the innovation and promotion of.
Ma'am, you can go on.
Should I go on?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So then the thing was now once you are in the market, one had to really keep on inventing and reinventing oneself to see how you stay in the market, how people constantly keep visiting you, what is the kind of innovation that you're putting in into the brand. So a whole lot of these a lot of innovation was done by way of adding one state after the other, one weave after the other, one print after the other, and travel from state to state, discovering, rediscovering, developing fabric. One section of the fabric was something that was, already available and was being developed by the rural artisanry. And there was a large part of the fabric that one had to kind of put in an effort to develop for the urban market. So this was rural artisanry and rural textile art form that Banjaras was and till date is trying to promote to the urban market. So this is rural art form, rural artisanry, which is presented to the urban market for consumption, if I have to put it in terms of commerce in that sense. Now, to promote, what all did we do? Oh, various things. We announced new concepts like midnight sales, where the sale went on till past midnight. And we used to have, till date, we have choco-block, people still shopping. The pre-COVID situations, it was always like a huge turnover of, people for such midnight sales. Then there were fashion shows with a difference where shows were held for real life people and not just the models, to give an understanding that this is a fabric that actually can be adorned by anyone like you and me, not necessarily professional models. So the design element came into it. Then there were a lot of local standalone exhibitions that one had to have, lots and lots of standalone exhibitions across town. Like Pune was really spreading out. So to have exhibitions, in all pockets of Pune, be it now I'm just talking local before we get on to other stuff. There, it was whether it was Kothrood or it was Camp or it was Koregaon Park, it was the Boat Club Road, it was Wakad, and all the suburbs as they were developing. We saw to it that initially we carried ourselves. I mean, if you cannot get people to you, you have to go to people, for people to come and get a sense of, what Banjaras, which is located otherwise in Aund, what are they really doing, for them to draw them to the store eventually. Then one had to come up with introduction of newer and newer concepts as to, okay, all right, you have all this variety of fabric, but what is the application of this fabric, and is the market limited to just women, or men are also a part of the market? So we came up with a very interesting line for men, which was called Just for Men, a single word, Just for Men, where there were designs of shirts created out of these fabrics only and only for men. Then there was a ready-to-wear line called Pret Solos, which meant that to maintain the exclusivity of what we are designing, whatever was sold as ready-to-wear stuff on the rack was not like 10 pieces of each, like what you see today. So if you go to any kind of a mall or a market or a brand, you will see M, L, XL, triple XL, double XL, all of that, and 10 pieces of each. So where is the exclusivity? So what Banjaras really tried to do with Pret Solos was each design that was there on the rack was different. So there was a M, L, and XL, but every piece had some element different from the other for it to not to just be not to get lost and not to be just like a uniform. So Pret Solos was one more concept. Then we came out with a concept of very very intense dupattas for the working woman who wanted power dressing besides the sari, where the dupatta became a piece of accessory, because if you if I don't know whether you are aware of the product range, but a good piece of dupatta can last you for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. You could have changed 10 outfits with the same dupatta if it's really really exclusive, because the fit doesn't change, it doesn't matter. It's like a small investment you make in something that you like, and you keep changing. So for the sake of power dressing, we had to have this exceptionally exquisite dupattas, which was a very very popular line, and it continues to be so today. Then, as my daughter Nidhi joined the business about 12 years ago, gradually the youth element got added to the business, and she came out with a concept which was called Mango People, which meant Aam Aadmi. So there were these pre-designed uh, pieces kept ready for people to buy, where the design you could already sense before it is just made to your measurement. It's not a piece of fabric, because not everyone has creative and imaginative skills. So she came out with a concept called Mango People. Then since if you it's very difficult to explain, but if you come and have a look at the store, we have yards and yards and thousands and meters of running fabric. So now every fabric creates a small cut piece, and every piece of it is what we have paid for. So so if there is an end piece out of every than that is left over, what do you do without wasting it? So we got into a line further which was called Ityadi. Now, Ityadi is a line which means etc., etc. in the real sense, which means that not just fabric and costumes and outfits, but there are these little creations and utility things made out of the same textiles, for which in turn it again created employment by way of having, a couple of women clusters, one in Pune, one in Gujarat. Sorry, we have two in Pune now, one in Gujarat, one in Panchgani. Yes, four presently, and something else again is developing in Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh as well. Sorry, Telangana now. So these clusters are developing there, where we give the design input and these end pieces and convert small, small pouches, zippers, bags, tissue holders, pen holders, passport bags, shopping bags, wallets, and and a whole lot of other things, mats and serviettes and all these. So what has happened is every single piece of what you have bought is not wasted. Point number one. Point number two, you're generating employment, meaningful employment for a cluster of women. Out of what? Out of just the end pieces that the business has created. So small things were looked into, and a lot of thought was given into how to make the business, you know, um, satisfying, a business with a heart, a business which cares for a whole section of people around it, working within the environment. Now, the fallout of this business was another business, which was that the moment you have fabric at the store, then people don't want to take the fabric and go elsewhere for designing. So there was so the natural progression was that we have a design unit under the name of Karagir, which houses, the name says it all, which houses about 10 to 15 at any given point of time, in-house artisans, which are cutters, tailors, embroiders, painters, hand embroiders, machine embroiders, and all of them. So the moment you come in, now it becomes a one-stop shop over a period of time, wherein right from the process of selection of fabric to the end product of designing with embroidery and all the other value additions that you need, the product is created to make it more and more and more convenient for people to do so. So that was it. That was by way of how the business model developed, and we started in a space that was 60 square feet, grew a little older, and changed a couple of locations as we grew up older and older and older. And as we stand today, we stand on 2 floors of almost 1200 square feet each by way of our main store and the designing section, and another workshop around the place. So this is a standalone destination store without any multiple outlets in elsewhere, though we have an online presence by way of a e-store which was added a year ago. And the Karagir, which has developed, where we have all these artisans employed, which has also been around for almost 25 years now. Banjaras as a business is 29 years, Karagir is 25 years old. So, as an incentive for staff who have been working with us for a very, very long time, committed to us, I personally feel should be given an incentive to last long, because why would anyone want to work for the rest of their lives with you on just a salary that they get back home? So I'm in the process of setting up Karagir as an entrepreneurial model for the loyal and long lasting staff, which have really, a set of them who really wanting to prove themselves and get to, and also look at it as a personal growth for them. So I'm in the process of mentoring that now. They have not yet weaned off, but we'll be there soon sometime, I'm sure. So this is how Karagir developed. And by way of achievement, if you say, yes, you can say we are a store with a heart. We are a store where we are driven by passion. I personally am a person who would feel that do it small, do it well. And that's the reason I think I always give people where that's the reason why we don't have multiple outlets. Also, reason of not having multiple outlets is a huge challenge of stock and stock taking, which I don't want to get into the logistics of that right now, which we probably do with the management students when they study us as a business model. And then, enjoying what you do at the end of the day after a working day. When you go back home and you want to rest, you're satisfied for having done what you're doing. I mean, enjoying your profession. So if you enjoy what you do, you have not worked a single day of your life. And I absolutely strongly and truly believe in that. So now for most of you, I would say what, according to students, would be definition of success. And that is where then I would probably come in and say what, what I felt was success and why you, because I ask myself when people ask me for this kind of a story where they say, you are an inspiration and we want you to speak. So I really, really want to figure out as to what is so inspirational about me that people want to know what is so inspirational about the story of the brand, about us. And that's what I would really like to know from you before I go ahead and tell you, what I feel is the biggest idea or definition of any kind of success that Banjaras is a story or Nita Deshpande as a person has achieved so far. So if most of you are here and keen, I would like to throw it open and make it a little more interactive than just going on talking all by myself.
It is because you were in the beauty industry, like all of those things, and then you
Yes.
shifted, like your entire chain of like the entire thing. You just dived into fashion industry, which is not really easy, because even after like people doing fashion designing and everything, they still be like, would I be able to do it and all. So you still had that confidence that you just dived into a whole new industry.
Okay. I'd like to correct you a bit right here. See, what I have dived really, if you look at it very carefully, as it happened, now you can say that, a small slice of the large fashion industry, because uh, for me, dealing with handcrafted Indian natural fabric in itself is a small niche and a small slice of the loaf of the bread called fashion. Okay, because it has many layers and many slices. Now if you ask me, it was a beauty salon, and how one got into it and how did I get the courage? Well, the courage came out of inquiries and inspiration from people, wherein I had started applying and wearing Indian handcrafted fabric to work when I was working as a therapist, when I was standing there and cutting hair. And I realized that I was more and more comfortable, in a tropical place like ours. Everything wasn't air conditioned 30 years back. Things have changed now, but one felt warm more so if you're standing and physically working. So the need was that I essentially wear only cotton. It somehow so happened that I wanted to wear trendy clothes then, but didn't want to get lost in the crowd. So I ended up sourcing small, traditional ethnic handloom fabrics and getting it customized personally for myself. And that is how the inquiry started. And I said, oh, why not? And then, actually the client started saying, why don't you have a small section where, you have things that you are wearing and probably you do something for it. So you will not believe it. I carved out a 60 square feet niche out of the 500 square feet, sorry, about a 400 square feet space that I had in the salon for this kind of fabric. And then what happened was a very, very gradual, natural, and organic transition. So it's not that, I was diving into something, but I got drawn into it. And it came one day to a point, not very, it didn't take very long, but within 2 years, I had seen the entire salon transition into a hub which had handlooms from different states. So that is how it happened.
Ma'am, one question from my side.
Sure.
Ma'am, what where was your thinking when you started Banjaras? Because you changed your profession, you went into and becoming into pioneer. What was your thinking before starting Banjaras?
If you want me to sound good, I can answer something else. But if you want me to sound very, very truthful and genuine, then there was no thought at that point of time. Like I just explained earlier, it was a gradual and a natural and a organic transition from this field to that. And then, the demand for that product kind of kept increasing, because see, I don't come from a business background. So I was not in a position to say, let me invest, let me pump in capital, let me do the interiors, let me source from this state, that state. Oh, no, 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 no. I had no option but to be conservative and gradually develop. Then it came to a point where, when it started showing success, then it came to a point where uh, I developed a confidence to take those little larger risks, invest a little more, borrow funds from the banks, and get into development. And my creative energies just started, just helped me a lot. And whatever I did, you'll not believe it, but though had one thing in mind, that I had to be very conservative and make sure that I don't overtrade or take huge risks. I was sure that I had to do it with a lot of passion. None of it was done with the point of view is, oh, I have to make XYZ amount of money. With, because the way we worked passionately towards it, that came as the end result very naturally, which I'm really, really grateful to the universe for that. But we put in all our positive energies, we put all our passion, me along with my team. After a few days, for some time it was, yes, Neeta Deshpande, but after a few years, I really share the entire credit with the entire team who, over a period, has been with me for such a long time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have
Okay.
one question.
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Ma'am, as you said that initial days you were facing so many challenges and obstacles while executing this idea.
Yeah.
So, was a point when you thought that I should quit this, or I should move away, or should I like rethink on my decision, and then something like that you felt?
No, not so strongly, really. I didn't regret my decision. Challenges were huge. Yes, they were really, really huge. Um, I really kept on thinking how I worked around the challenges and how I surmounted that, because the passion was just too deep rooted, I feel. I mean, I really feel sometimes when I think to myself, I really feel sad that I couldn't judge then. Of course, there weren't design schools mushrooming then. It was very rare. I mean, it was NID or then nothing. Then, none of the other small schools were around. But I really didn't think in the direction that I had to be taught. But somewhere that passion was so deep rooted and there was so much difficulty. See, even today, as I'm talking to you, if you ask me, like if people want to put in the effort as what is the value for effort, like many value for money, VFM, you'll learn in commerce, right? So what is the VFM that you're getting? You're slogging it. But my point is that yes, for a person who's an outsider, he feels that, oh, I'm seeing Neeta Deshpande, or even for that matter, my family is seeing me involved from 10 in the morning, not today, but earlier, all day, thinking about it at night, traveling to different places, sourcing, going to the interiors. So for them, it's like, oh, what is the value for money? But for me, it was a different. It's an internal process because everything was growth, everything was passion. So there wasn't this feeling that, oh my God, I'm slogging so much, and in return, I should have gotten an XYZ. So that was never the thought. So it really never pulled me. I never thought of changing tracks because of the challenge of challenges. Yes, they were. And sometimes I felt terribly frustrated because of the financial constraints, because I knew what I could do, but that support was not there. It was not forthcoming, or I was not bold enough, you can say, to take the risk. I was not bold enough to put my premises as a, um, what do you say, as a security to pick up funds. So that way I was conservative. So I had my own set of frustrations. But no, I didn't ever think of giving up because of that. Never.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering.
Yeah, anything else?
Ma'am, we are talking about what things we should do, and can you also talk about what should we not do? Like there are things
Very
we
good
should do.
question. Very good. Very, very good question, I think. So what one should do and what one should not do just depends a lot on whether you have given enough thought to yourself, what you are wanting out of it, and your passion. Now, maybe probably I will be able to, if you allow me, I will be able to answer your question in a manner uh, that what is the definition of success? So I'm going to take this point wise, which partly will answer your question and will give a better dimension also to the entire group who's present right here. So I will take this as my personal experience. Out of that, you will really need to figure out what one should do and what one should not do. So for a person like me, for someone who absolutely, absolutely loves to travel, normally traveling outbacks of India and the interiors which was like a work come pleasure kind of thing, where I had a family, where I have had kids, where it was possible for me to travel for work, taking the kids along, because it was not a formal corporate environment where in which I was working, right? So here I knew what is good for me. I knew I needed to give time to my family, because that is also something what I wanted to do. It was never that I just wanted to do my career. I wanted to do that. So it's very important, what is it that you are looking for, to decide what you wish to do and what you do not wish to do. So I wanted to do that. So I did travel with the kids to all these places, in a way enriching my experience and theirs. Then there was no guilt. As the family grew in the same environment, there was absolutely no guilt, and the work became even a lot more encouraging. Then what you are doing as an employer, because when you take the staff under your wings, I started working and developing a passion for working with, these girls who came from the Vasti backgrounds, where there were school dropouts, there were special girls, there were girls who were abused, and all of them come to be able to take them under your wings, to teach them soft skills, conversational English, uh, you know um, uh, grooming, personal grooming, etiquettes, and make them confident store operators. In turn, what are you doing is enriching so many people's lives. So now each time, if I just keep saying that, oh, I am not earning money out of it, but are you a satisfied human being? At the end of it, what is success? Money, but business does not have to suffer losses. Yes, it should not. After putting in so much effort and time, there is an X amount of money that you should earn. Yes, you must. The bottom line has to be protected. Of course, there are no two doubts about that. But how much of a risk do I want to take? Maybe someone was in my shoes, who had a huge, probably someone else who had a huge financial backing would have had 3 outlets by now. So I did not do that. So I would like to tell you, out of my personal experiences, one thing I did not do is not overtrade. I didn't exceed my limit of what I thought I would be able to do, because the risk that I was taking in that is, do not take financial risk to the extent that you lose your passion of work. If you expand your business to the extent that you are not enjoying it, there is no point doing it, is what I would say. But it is extremely personal. For someone, it is very stupid to be in the business for 30 years and not have 4 outlets. I mean, I could have easily had 5. We had investors all over waiting for us to go and do it. But the one question that I kept asking myself was, are you going to be doing justice to all those businesses? Are you physically, psychologically, mentally, and financially capable of taking this risk at the cost of not enjoying the business? And only you yourself can answer this question. I'm just going to give you some leads, and then you have to ask yourself what is good for you, because all of you, I don't know how many of you are there, and each one of you is different, and each one of you may want something else by way of success in life, right? So at a point, you have to decide what you
Ma'am,
want out of it.
I have another question. Ma'am,
Sure.
you could have also gone for the franchisee model for like and you can also in that you can enjoy your business as well as you can expand through franchisee model to giving franchisee to other people and raising the capital side by side.
Yes, now we did try. I would not mention names for obvious reason right now. We did have small attempts, one in Mumbai and one in Pune itself, at a small level, to do that, to realize that the moment you are giving out a franchisee, see, it's really, really small things. When you are giving out a franchisee, you hand over a certain things, you set up your conditions, and you ask people to operate, but you have to at the same time be confident enough that when I'm lending my brand name, let's say Banjara's Natural Fabrics is the name that that model is going to use. Neeta Deshpande or Nidhi Deshpande cannot be all over the place ever. So like, so many of them have so many franchisee models all over. And that is precisely the reason I did not have. I don't wish to name any brands right now, but the biggest of brands, I have walked into it and I have said, oh, this is not how they come across. In a store of a certain caliber, if I am going to walk into an air conditioned store, I'm giving you an example, air conditioned store where people have just had dabba and that entire place with the fabrics is smelling of all the Indian spices and masalas and food and vegetables. You know how it is in an AC environment. Or for that matter, the housekeeping is not in place. Plastic bags are lying all over the place. Staff is not properly groomed. They are not paying attention to clients who are walking in and out. Then what is happening? The name that you are creating for yourself for such a long period of time suddenly goes down the say, अरे ये वो बंजारा नहीं है, ये उसमें मजा नहीं आया. How often have you said things like, अरे यार यहाँ का खाना उस जैसा नहीं है, ये आउंद वाला और कोरेगांव पाक वाले खाने में फर्क है. Till date I hear all these. ये environment और वो environment अलग है. Now if you decide that I'm okay, it's okay as long as my money purse is filling up and money is coming in. I'm not worried about what they do under the Banjara's name. If you're okay with that, then fine, that works. But if you are not okay, because for a fact I know that even running one store till date, if you're not completely putting in that interest and constant training of your staff to achieve those levels, it is a huge challenge. And for us, we are like, to put you because you are not here, so it's very difficult for me to physically explain to do. But we are like kapad dukandars who sell takatla fabric, takas and meters, and a sophisticated one at that. So if you have to maintain thousands of meters of stock, it's a very, very complex system. It cannot, like I said, our business is very, by way of stocks, very difficult to make it system dependent. And that's where, have you till date heard of a kapad dukandar having a franchisee model?
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I
So
think
we are a
you
kapad
you mean
dukandar.
yes, ma'am. I think you mean things need to be exclusive for
No,
this.
no, not exclusive. It's complex.
Yeah.
Having a franchisee model, you see, for example, if you take examples of uh, any brand XYZ, take a Anoki or take a Fab India, how does a franchisee work? Because there are 200 saris, there are 500 dupattas, there are 800 kurtas, there are 900 salwars and 700 frocks, okay, for example. So system में से दो बाहर गया, 700 में से दो बाहर गया, 698 is the stock that you see on screen. For a person who's in a business of fabric, the fabric cuts from all states are dynamic. The than cut begins at 6 meters and ends at 35 meters. Every than. Every than. And if Andhra and Telangana together has 10 types of fabric, a Mangalgiri will be 12-meter cut, a Kalamkari will be 10 meters cut, a Ikat will be a 25-meter cut. I mean, how are you going to keep stock? Then there is going to be 1 meter that is damaged in the in transportation. 2 meters of the end fabric is used for something else. How in a franchisee model are you going to be able to keep stock at a point when you pay for every 10 centimeters that you have stock? If the than cut, like I said, it's handmade. If a than cut is 10 meters and 75 centimeters or 30 centimeters, I'm not paying only for 10 meters. I'm also paying for that 30 centimeters. So what I'm trying to tell you is, now we are working with 22 regions. How am I going to keep a stock if I'm not physically there to examine it regularly?
Yes, ma'am. It's very difficult to control that
Exactly. If it's
volume.
not standardized, it's not a standardized thing. It's not a standardized model. And it is extremely difficult to standardize this model. So what we thought is instead of a franchisee model, we thought of going online.
Yes, ma'am. That's better.
Yeah. So once if you come to the store of and 30 years back it was difficult, but now like I said, there's so many natural fabric options in the market, so people know what the fabric looks and feels like normally. So the option of purchasing online, we thought it's better to have a e-store than to have a brick and mortar.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Got.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. पाणी देशील का थोडं तू बस ना तिकडे. Any more questions coming in from the students?
Guys, if you are not able to unmute yourself, you can type your questions in the chat box, please.
Ma'am, you also said you were not able to take loans and stuff. So how did you expand? Like you contacted the investor or like?
No. We did, keep adding the money that the business has created for some amount, a large part of the money into the business for a couple of years initially. And I had a very extremely strict discipline with that. Then there was some funds that were borrowed from family and friends and returned in a limited period of time. So that helped us a lot. And over a period, those suppliers who had developed a confidence in us did start extending, their goodwill and a credit period for a limited amount of time, which really helped us. And I'm extremely happy, thrilled, and proud to say that as we are in this business for 29 years, the track record of our payments to suppliers and our relationship with our suppliers have been the understanding has been so terrific because of high ethical practices that we have followed in business of repayment, that every supplier is still on board. Like what the business that I had started 29 years ago with XYZ supplier, even today, that he or she continues to be my supplier even today as we keep adding other states and other suppliers. So they also have been a huge support, but it is a very symbiotic relationship. It's like you are ethical, you understand their needs. At times today, when we start doing well, we also extend advances to them, because they sometimes COVID times were tough. So there were times when we had to give people money even to buy thread, to buy color, to set up the looms. There were some illnesses in the family, so on that it's a symbiotic relationship.
So it's a give and take kind of.
By now it is, but initially, as you said, finances was a lot of family, friends.
Yes, ma'am.
And then of course, gradually, as the banking developed and our needs developed, the risk bearing capacity increased and confidence levels increased, then obviously other finances came in handy.
Yes, ma'am.
So should I sum this up if there are no more questions as to how all dimensions, how you see business in all dimensions for any kind of a business to be inspirational? I mean, if there are more questions, we'll take those, and otherwise we'll just sum it up with this.
Ma'am, one question.
Yeah.
As we can see that if we are bringing up any new ideas in the society, first it get rejected. So was that their kind of problem with you also, and how you tackled that problem if there was?
No, there wasn't rejection in the kind of. Okay, let me answer it differently. There wasn't a rejection, but there was a challenge. So we had to work a lot on, you know, what do you say, educating people about the product. So people were not aware of handloom since it was so new. It was harder to explain to people that what a handloom fabric is, why does it cost an X amount of rupees per meter, how, what is the kind of care you take, how it is different from the other fabric that you have, how you should be supporting the handloom sector, which is a huge, it's the second largest industry after the agriculture industry in India. Were you aware of this? Not many were aware, but it needed a lot of attention. So there was a lot of effort and energy which got people were liking it, but people were not understanding it. There was no question of rejection in that way. Yes, rejection was not for the product that we were selling. It was appreciated very well, and like you see, since there was no rejection, we are where we are today. But there was an apprehension and kind, not rejection is too strong a word, but kind of the profession that I am in today uh, was not looked at seriously 25-30 years ago. People were like, really, is this what you want to do, is this what you do for a living? Oh, it is just a small hobby, wo time pass ke liye boutique chalate hai. That kind of approach was very difficult for me to fathom and understand till the time I decided that I need to shut myself off from all this and just keep doing what I am doing, because this comes in. And even for so many people who are not aware of Banjaras today, and I happen to meet them for the first time, that is the reaction always that I get, that, oh, it's one of those boutiques which will start and close shop within 3 years. So it's okay. You have to take that. I mean, it was not the rejection for the product, because the business spoke and grew, and it is where it is today. So that way, I don't think there was a rejection. But yes, there was apprehension, and the way people looked at you as a professional in this business. Yes, there were challenges, and yes, I had to face that.
Okay, ma'am, there's a question from our participant. What initial challenges were faced by you when you planned to open Banjaras?
I covered this no earlier. There was
Ma'am,
no.
major challenges.
I mentioned all the challenges. So in brief, I will just run through it. I will not elaborate on that because I think we have covered this point. So the challenges were limited capital, no bank loans, no business background, very low product awareness and knowledge in the market, no support from technology, communication difficulties, no social networking. Travel to remote areas was a problem by a single woman. Challenge being a pioneer as the knowledge was limited, and no formal education in the field that I decided to pursue. So any particular point, if you want me to, stress on, I could, but these were all the challenges that we covered some time back.
Ma'am, did you take help from any kind of agency for like marketing and getting into stuff which you're not specialized in doing the business?
For online, yes, now of late, but a large part of our business grew. Like I said, it's a small business, and it grew um, on a very personal recommendation and a word of mouth, and that kind of a approach. But what was our what do you say, USP, or the strong point was that Banjaras really did a lot of events. We are known for our events. So marketing was done that, and we did not have an external agency. Like I said, my daughter Nidhi is qualified. She is qualified. She's a master's degree holder and a topper in fashion retail design. So she took charge of the business, and she's the events person, the in-house events person. So fortunately for us, that way we didn't have to take help from outside. It came from within the team inside. She is the admin head today. So all a whole lot of events that happen at Banjaras are entirely under her wing.
Oh, okay, okay, ma'am.
One question. How did you
Yes.
minimize the fixed cost and how did you reach at the break even?
Oh, wow. Uh, all right. Fixed cost awareness, I must tell you, was a very important aspect because I came from a very, very creative background, and I understood colors and I understood creativity and I understood, I had my PR skills and everything in place and how to make them look beautiful and aesthetic. But there came a point in time where a little bit of commerce brain was required. So, for 4 years, out of this 29 years, there were 4 years from, to be precise, from 2000 to 2004 is when my husband, who's a management topper once again. So he decided to come in and step into the business and set the systems for the business. So that was about around 3.5 years. He had to really, kind of rein the team in. And we used to be extremely irritated and angry because, I was used to all creative stuff. And then there was someone telling us fixed costs are increasing and this is going wrong and that is going wrong. So that is when we had a structure in place, an organizational structure in place. The leaves were put in place. The costs were, one decided how to optimize costs more than reducing cost. It was like, oh, what is necessary, what is not necessary, how do you optimize costs, what goes under business costs, what, because it's a proprietary firm, what are business costs, what are proprietary costs, how you reduce costs. Then we added a firm. So when the same firm Karagir got added under the same roof, then the fixed costs were shared by both the organizations equally. And in our case, that is how these fixed costs for Banjaras as a business model came down. Because Karagir as a business model, which existed in the same premises, we realized that Karagir also needed to share costs. It was not just Banjaras. And then, we really got the entire thing ironed out and put it in black and white. And yes, we did have to put in a lot of exercises to see that the fixed costs were in place. Even today, as I'm talking to you, this is what I'm saying. Like, every single time, uh, fixed costs is one thing, but conservation of resources also becomes a very important aspect for Banjaras, because we are in this, a responsible, eco-friendly kind of a fabric that we are promoting. We cannot be having excess lights on. We cannot unnecessarily be putting on the air conditioners. The air conditioners for us over here is partly for clients' comfort, but also to keep the fabric intact, crisp, so that it doesn't wear out. So, keeping fixed costs in place for us is an ongoing challenge and a process that we constantly and consciously work upon, even till date.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, please adjust your camera. It's a
I
little
am
bit.
sorry. Is this fine? Is this fine? Is this fine?
Ma'am, little more.
Can you see
Yeah,
me?
it's
Can you see me
yeah.
now?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
this good?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry because my laptop suddenly gave way, so I have to address you on my iPhone. So can you see me now?
Yes, ma'am. It's fine.
Yeah.
Ma'am, it's again got.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, it's fine.
is it fine now?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Guys, any further questions? If you have, please. Not, ma'am. One final question. What are your suggestions the participants or students who want to go in the same field or same area or new kind of entrepreneurial uh, path? So what are your suggestions to so they can get their success?
Okay, now I can give you these suggestions from entirely my kind of backgrounds. If people are coming, most important suggestion today I will give what we are looking at the world around is, if you are coming from a non-business family background with limited finances to pump in, exercise decent amount of caution. Take a risk, but please take a calculated risk, because that should not be the factor that should kill the entrepreneur in you. I'm really, really amazed and very happy to see when people, even when, people graduate out of management institutes and not look just at pay packages and that they are getting elsewhere, but when they have the courage to have their own enterprise. It's really heartening, because in the process, you are creating employment as well. Okay. So take a risk, but let the risk be calculated. Make sure what exactly you want out of the business and work towards it. Have a proper plan in place. Let it not be a very long-term plan, because this is what I have learned. I've had long-term plans, term plans for business, and then I had to tweak it and make it suitable. So have small-term plans to begin with until you get to a level where you can take those big strides. One baby step at a time is what I would suggest for small businesses. And keep your passion intact. At the end of the day, that keeps the business healthy and it keeps you physically, psychologically, and financially healthy.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us with your inspirational success story. And I'm sure, ma'am, it will help all of us for diving into less travel entrepreneur path. Once again, thank you, ma'am. Now,
I would
as we
I would
yes,
really
ma'am.
appreciate, sorry, but I would really appreciate though that if you really want to get the essence of what the enterprise and what the trajectory has been, it's very crucial for you to make an effort to physically come and have a look at the model, which will really put sense into you as to see what the transition has been.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Uh, and now, as we are moving toward the end of the day one,
Yes.
may I request student coordinator Rupam Sri to deliver the vote of thanks. Rupam, over to you.
Thank you, Pradeep. As you all know, opportunities don't happen. You have to do something to create them. Good evening to one and all present here in a virtual workshop of entrepreneurship development for PG students. I, Rupam Shri, on behalf of Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, would like to thank Mr. Rohit Lalwani sir, Mr. Sajid Khetani sir, and Mrs. Neeta Deshpande ma'am for sharing their valuable experience and taking out few hours of their life for us. I would like to thank our respected principal, Dr. Rishikesh Suman sir, for providing us a golden opportunity to listen all these respected speakers and helping us in finding opportunities for new starts after post-graduation. Also, I would like to thank respected Dr. Sarayu Bakri ma'am, Dr. Santosh Marwari Kumbar sir, Dr. Nilesh Wagmare sir for their guidance and support, without which it would not been have possible. We would like to thank Rashtriya Uchchitar Shiksha Abhiyan Rusha 2.0 for providing funding for us. Last but not the least, a big thanks to all the participants for their patience and support for their season. I would like to thank our student coordinator Anandita, Apurva, and Pratik for their contribution in making day one successful. Also thanks to Shubham and Athar, students of TYPCOM. Before we conclude the day one, there are few instructions for all the attendees. Please check the chat box for feedback form and fill it immediately. The link will be open for 20 minutes only. Link for the day 2 will be emailed you on 17th Feb. E-certificates will be given on submission of feedback form of day 2 only. I wish you all a good day and we will meet on 18th Feb, the last day of this virtual workshop of entrepreneurship development for PG student, where we have some more session. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.